One of the biggest reasons I said that in the beginning of the season, so you don't have that Imodi moment.
Right.
I mean, that's why you put a rookie out there. We all know what I'm talking about, Imodi moment.
Absolutely.
And so
I think Kenny and I understood where you were coming from. I just think it's scary that if they would have done that, where Johnny is at. I think Mike Pettin spoke to us in so many ways without playing Johnny early on.
Totally agree.
You know what I mean? I think
agree.
Mike Pettin, without blatantly embarrassing Johnny Manziel and not wanting to embarrass him,
you know what they could have said? You know what probably would have been better and no one wanted to hear it? Maybe he didn't want to take the heat as a coach. He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready.
You're right.
And is that the coach's responsibility at the NFL level? I say no.
Really?
If you don't know the playbook, then
That's
I
on
think
you.
it's
That's on the
you know
player.
that you got to know it. I don't know.
Well,
What do you got?
can I get to his question real quick?
Go ahead.
The Connor Shaw thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a legitimate question. I do. But I think for the 50-some guys in that locker room, for Joe Thomas and guys like that, Mike Pettin can't lose his locker room on one game.
No, I agree.
You got to roll out Brian Hoyer and say, hey, guys, winning 8 games for the Browns. We talk about playing like a Brown and how we're building this new – you can't go to Connor Shaw right now and say –
No, I agree with that. But
it's a good question.
I still think that Mike Pettin in the back of his mind would say, you know what? If we're not going to go with Brian next year, let's give Connor a shot because he's been working hard in practice.
I'll say this.
In high school, that works. It doesn't work.
Here's another point, too, that you guys haven't brought up. The fact that Rob Chudzinski was fired last year for losing the last couple of games. You think in the back of Mike Pettin's mind, he's like, I want to win this game.
Eric, that is what this organization has done to itself. It's not, now in my opinion, you guys know this, it doesn't mean it's right. In my opinion, I think we should not talk about the coach losing his job at all. Marla Reidenheimer from the Akron Beacon Journal does a great job. Love Marla. She wrote a great article this morning kind of going and saying, because of how the owner handled the situation last year, it is a question that you can ask because they've set it up that way. I think it's 2 years in a row, right? I think it's ridiculous personally, but I don't think it's going to happen. But the media is going to ask the question to Jimmy Haslam because he's set it up that way. I'll say this to you about Connor Shaw. I bet money. I'd put a good amount of money. I don't have any money in my pocket because I ran out of the house quickly as possible.
You're wearing a sweatsuit.
Yeah, right. But I'd put down a decent amount of money that he knows the playbook better than Johnny Manziel.
Oh, I believe it. I don't have any question of that.
You don't have any question of it?
I don't have your kind of money either.
No.
All right, let's do this. Let's go to Bill Powell. He is the president of the Bull City Browns backers, and he is nice enough to join us this morning. Bill, how are you doing today?
Good. I barely have a voice, but I'm good.
Well, that's okay. That means you were working hard during the game yesterday. Tell me a little bit about the Bull City Browns backers. Where do you guys meet? And tell me a little bit about your club.
Sure. The club started week 3 of last season. It was a late bloomer. But we meet at the Tavern in Durham, North Carolina. We're now up to about 100 or so fans that come out for each game, which is awesome. I founded it because I was walking around town in my Browns jersey, and people kept coming up to me saying, "Go Browns," or woofing at me, and like, hey, maybe there's a place for us here.
Bill, are you originally from Cleveland?
I'm originally from Central Pennsylvania. My dad was a Cleveland Browns fan, so I was born into it.
Good for
All
you.
right, now let me ask this
Living
question.
in hostile territory.
Yeah. You've been listening to us. Just what's your take on the whole Manziel thing? Were you for him being drafted? And just what are your thoughts now that this season?
Well, hang on 1 second before you. Are we putting him on the clock here?
I'm sorry.
Is he going on the clock?
Let me get it set
He
up.
ain't ready.
Oh, figures. All right, hang on a second. So here's what we do, Bill, and we
quick.
appreciate your time. You'll have 60 seconds on the clock. If you want to include Manziel, include it. If you don't answer it, we'll ask you that afterwards. So very high-tech clock we have here. I don't know if you've ever seen such a clock like this. Clearly, if you need not only a clock, but engagement rings, and it will also take all of your major credit cards and PayPal because we really went the extra mile to build this clock for you. So we're going to give you 60 seconds. And in the 60 seconds, you can say anything you want. Again, the reminder on this show is there's no rules. So if you've got a couple words there that we normally would not hear on the air, we were more than happy to hear them here, and there will be no trouble, no fine, no issues because we're not FCC regulated. So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and when we are set, go.
All right. So my rant is not against anything of the Browns. I think they're doing a great job. I think Mike Pettin is the coach of the future for us. And I believe that because I see the moves that are happening. I see our late round draft picks coming of age. Pierre Desser is going to be a great cornerback in this league. Maybe not great, but he's going to be good. I see Terrence West. I see Isaiah Crowell coming in and doing awesome. And to hear all of this chatter and talk about new quarterback this, new quarterback that, Kansas City wins with Alex Smith. Alex Smith. I mean, anybody can throw the ball behind this line when they're healthy. What we're having a problem with is a defensive line that has been decimated by injury. And when you have a defensive line that's decimated by injury and quick pressure up the middle, no quarterback will be successful. The other part of my rant is Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan's supposedly a genius. He comes across as a very confident man who can design plays for anyone. Look what he did with RG3. Well, what he did with RG3 isn't going to work with what he did for Johnny Manziel. He gets too cute. Too many plays out of the pistol read option. All of that stuff has to be practiced. The offensive line cannot keep up with that sort of thing on a regular basis when you're changing in quarterbacks in, out. You can't go from a Brian Hoyer to a Johnny Manziel and hope to have success. So I do not believe that we should change quarterbacks. I do not believe that we should be looking at Brett Hundley in the draft. I think we need to build out depth on the defensive, offensive line, and continue to build superstars in those late round draft picks.
Bill, let me ask you this. So are you a Keep Hoyer guy then?
Yeah, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, he wants to be here. Whether he wants to be a backup or not, he'd probably be a backup in Tampa Bay.
Hey, would you? He could be a starter in Houston.
He could start
next
in
year,
Houston. He could start in Tampa maybe too.
Yeah,
maybe, but they're going to have a draft pick to take a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the scary. I like a lot of things you said. I wish it was this easy that you could just walk in and say to Brian, "Hey, here's a 3-year deal with $30 million on it. I don't know how long we're going to keep you as a starter, but you're going to start game 1 of 2015." And when Johnny,
he's a fool not to take that.
You're looking at me like, why are you looking at me like that?
Get a better
Here's
rate
what we're all forgetting. Okay, the only way Brian Hoyer stays, in my opinion, in 2 ways. 1, you got to pay the man. 2, you better keep Mike Pettin, and Mike Pettin and Brian Hoyer have to be in sync.
Yes.
Forget about everybody else in this thing. It's Pettin and Hoyer, and they go into this thing together. That's the only ways. If I'm Brian Hoyer, I'm out of here. Forget you. You got to be kidding me. I've worked so hard to come back. I mean, think about what he did. I don't care about his bad games. The guy had a ripped ACL, came back and acted like he never had any problems before. If I'm Brian Hoyer, I love Cleveland. I'm from here. This will always be my hometown. But I got to tell you, this last year has made me 10 years older because the support level has been fractured from the beginning because you went out to take a flyer on the number 22 pick, a guy that 20 other teams didn't think was good enough to be a first-round pick. The best thing they could have done was bring Hoyer back and bring Manziel, maybe draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round, take all the pressure off. We all know the second-string quarterback's the most popular guy in town.
Woof,
all right?
Woof, Chef. Look at you. You're
right.
It's
just true.
Well,
it's just true.
And I'll let Bill get back at it. Don't you guys think Mike Pettin, if he had his way, that Brian Hoyer fits him a lot more than figuring out Johnny Manziel?
Are you buying into the system? If you are, it's Brian Hoyer.
It's Brian Hoyer. That's who to me, that's what he'd want. What else you got for us, Bill?
All right, final thing. I wanted to send a shout out to the Browns backers in the Muni Lot South, just outside of the Panthers Stadium. The traffic, there's a main thoroughfare that runs in front of the stadium, and there was a officer of the law who was not directing traffic. He was just standing there blocking hundreds upon hundreds of Browns fans from getting out of the stadium. It took about 2.5 hours to get out of the stadium. Several of us walked up to him and asked him, why are you not actually directing traffic? And he handed us his walkie-talkie and said, "Talk to my boss." So we did. And he eventually left, and Browns backers were directing traffic, stepping in front of a major thoroughfare in Charlotte, stopping traffic, letting people out, Panthers fans and Browns fans alike. So thank you guys, the ones that stopped, the ones that made it happen. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for calling in this morning. Hopefully we'll get you back next week. And don't forget, next year, we'll take you in next year, too. Thank you, Bill.
Awesome. See you guys.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Make sure
Happy
you go to
holidays,
Bull City
buddy.
if you're watching us down in Charlotte this morning.
You just went off on. You were good. Because you hit on something fans don't want to hear it. I don't think people take in Brian Hoyer's part of all of this. He did come back, and I thought mobility-wise, he looked the best he's looked all season yesterday.
Sure,
his
a little
knees,
rust, that's
his
why.
legs look rested. He finally looked like a guy that wasn't coming off.
He
an
was
ACL.
off the rookie wall.
Yeah.
He was off the rookie wall.
Did he have the brace on yesterday?
I didn't
I don't
notice.
know if he did or he looked.
Maybe he had Johnny's dark visor on from the beginning of this game. Let's go back. Real quick, we're going to go to Tim, but I do want to.
Oh, got
George, real quick. We know you're late here. Go ahead, George, quick.
Good morning.
Couch
Hi,
for 2
guys.
seconds for you. You better be good.
Let's see. Why do we have the Bernie Kosar syndrome still talking about quarterbacks in this town?
Because we don't have a quarterback, George. That's why.
Yeah, I know, but your points were taken and made very well about Brian Hoyer.
Thank you, George. All right.
Very
What else?
well
Tell us what you
taken.
think of the game yesterday, man.
If it wasn't for Travis Benjamin and that awesome play,
You mean the rookie?
He did bust
yeah,
his tail.
Sure
that
they call
awesome
him a rookie.
play.
Yeah, these guys don't prepare. It's crazy.
Keep going. George, keep going. What'd you think of the game?
Just that, and of course the one play that Hoyer threw to Cameron. That was basically the highlight. The defense could have played better, but Billy Wynn, was that an interception and a touchdown
Yes.
run or what?
Yeah,
Yes.
that play needs to be reviewed.
All
I
right.
bet
So
you
give
the
me
NFL will review it and say, oops, we made a mistake.
I thought they came out yesterday and said it
They
was
said
right.
the
They
right
made
call.
the right call.
I don't
Whatever.
agree.
Oh,
You got to be kidding
that's
me.
a crock.
If it wasn't the Browns, it would have been the wrong call. You know that?
That's a
All right, you have
crock.
15 seconds. Tell me exactly what you think. Go, George, go.
Please, no quarterback in the first round next year. Please. We need offense and defense on the line. It's about blocking and tackling. And if Johnny Manziel was coachable, yeah, okay, I could see it. But after 2 weeks, that looks like a little leaguer who doesn't know what he's doing at the plate. It's a joke.
Thank you,
It's
George.
a fucking joke.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we needed.
Thank you. Hey,
Yeah,
Merry
have a
Christmas
great
to you.
day.
Tim, do a
guys.
Hail Mary
Thanks.
for me.
George, Merry Christmas. Oh, there you go.
Oh, Merry
All right,
Christmas.
let's go to Tim Couch. Hi, Tim. All right. I don't know if you've been watching for the last couple minutes here, but I got into some things that, with Brian Hoyer and coming back next year. If you were Brian Hoyer, would you want to come back next year?
It would be tough. I think that Brian probably feels a little mistreated because of, everything you guys said was right on. His ability to come back from the injury all the time and work that he put in, and as well as he played early in the season. I think Brian deserved the right to finish this season out. I really do, because, obviously Manziel's not ready, and I think Brian earned that spot. He earned the respect of his teammates. I think all those guys believe in Brian. I think they still believe in Brian, even though he's been, replaced by Johnny. I think when he came on the field yesterday, you could see the belief the guys still have in Brian when he came in the huddle, and they picked up right where he left off, and he made some plays in that game with limited reps and practice throughout the week. So it's a tough situation. I think the biggest thing is can Brian and Coach Pettin repair that relationship, because there's certainly a level of mistrust, I think, on Brian's part, because he thought that it was his job and he was playing okay. He obviously had a bad stretch there, but I think he still felt like he was the guy. So if they can repair that relationship, sure, I think it could work out, but it would certainly have to require a few sit down talks with Coach Pettin and the guys in front office.
Yeah, you bring up the front office. I think that'd be the big talks. I think any head coach would be more secure. We keep talking about Kansas City. Andy Reid, I think one of the better quarterback coaches we would say in the NFL, right? And he's gone through the Donovan McNabbs, the Michael Vicks. He's gone
The
through
Joe
some
Banners.
the Joe Banners. He's went through some pretty high-profile guys. And we all know the deficiencies of Alex Smith. Every one of us. I was reading a blog in Kansas City last night, and half the fans are going, well, Alex Smith doesn't turn the ball over because he doesn't throw it 5 yards. And I know Kansas City's probably not going to make it in the playoffs or whatever else. But if Andy Reid can settle on a guy like Alex Smith, give him a big ton of money, and say, that's the guy I want to play with, I just think Browns fans, Tim, it's hard for them to accept that maybe your best thing is the boring guy. If it's okay with Andy Reid, why not us?
I talked earlier in the week, I did some interviews last week about, the Browns quarterback situation over the last 15 years. And to me, it's about patience and committing to a guy and sticking with him, just like you said, Andre. And, I look within our own division. Look at the teams, Pittsburgh, they stuck with their head coach. They stuck with their quarterback through thick and thin. Baltimore, same thing. Cincinnati, same thing. How long have those coaches been there? How long have they been consistent in their schemes and all that? And they committed to Andy Dalton. Is Andy Dalton a $115 million quarterback? Is he that much better than Brian Hoyer? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, he's played really, really up and down football throughout his career, but they've committed to him, and they've consistently gotten to the playoffs by doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. They have. The other thing offensively, now, and I know people don't agree with me, I take the best tackle in the draft this offseason. And it's not a hit against Joe Thomas. I think the Mitchell Schwartz experiment. Tim, you watch the game like all of us do. As a quarterback, the right tackle now is as important as the left tackle, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a passing league. You got to be able to protect both sides. And, it used to be, you got to have that left tackle. You got to have that blind side protected. But now, these teams have two good defensive ends now. It used to just be that guy on the right side of the defense you had to worry about. Now teams have two good defensive ends that are going to force you to step up into the pocket and do those kind of things. So you have to have, those solid guys on both sides of your offensive line. And, man, if I tell you, if you don't have it, it makes, things really tough in the passing game as far as trying to get the ball down the field. And I think that's what the Browns have struggled with over the last couple of weeks, is generating big plays. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they really can't block them up and protect it long enough to get things going down the field. When you take shots down the field, a lot of times you do it off play action. And to do that, you got to be able to run the ball. And we all know since Alex Mack has been out of the lineup, it's been really inconsistent as far as establishing any kind of running game to set up those play action passes to get down the field.
All right, Tim, we're going to talk to you in a little bit. We'll do grade the team here in about 5 minutes like we always do. So we'll talk to you. I still want to talk to you about Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer, too, and just your thoughts of, grading those guys as rookies as well. Thanks, Tim. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Take care, Tim. He makes a great point.